likewise, when Jesus begins to break the spiritual bread to you, you will also know him. And it's when you have done so that he'll open your eyes. And when your eyes are opened, you will know him. That's the way God has it. And the word of God, even though it's written so many years ago, it doesn't get stale. It doesn't get bad. It doesn't get like yesterday. We are told that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And being the same yesterday, today, and forever means that he does not change. He cannot improve on his thoughts. He cannot subtract from his ideas, because if he was to do so, it would be acknowledging that he doesn't know all things. But we know that God knows all things. And if God knows all things, he cannot add to his knowledge. He cannot subtract to the things that he already knows. Because if he did so, that means he made some mistakes. He cannot make mistakes and remain God. We therefore have to understand we are being led by somebody who knows all things. We may struggle with understanding that. We may struggle with accepting or fully grasping the idea of a being who knows everything when we are creatures limited in time. But the issue is because we are trying to use a finite mind to understand the infinite mind. Can you imagine a little fish, a little, let's say a minnow, way down in the river or way down wherever it is, and there's a whole big ocean, and it's trying to comprehend how big the ocean is. All the oceans interconnected, the vast amounts of waters, and trying to understand that with its little mind, how huge that is. It's almost unimaginable. Think about a little ant trying to understand how big this whole country is, must alone the whole world. We human beings take so long just to traverse the world and to get to comprehend the world. And yet we recognize that the world is the smallest of places that we can think about, and they send crafts that takes ages, years and years just to reach to their destination. And we haven't even begun to scratch much of the universe, much of the whole wild world universe that's out there. That's just the things that are seen and comprehended by the human mind. What about the things that are not seen? And God presides over all the things that we see and we do not see. And if we try to understand him by our natural human mind and reason, our mind will come short, because it's not designed really to come to understand those kind of things. When God spoke with Job, because he was going through so much, one of the most astounding books of the Bible, it's actually said that the book of Job is the oldest in the Bible. In other words, it was written a little bit before all the other books. It doesn't mean that the events that are written there happened before the events of Genesis. Moses wrote Genesis, but it's understood that the book of Job was written before. After a while, when they were compiling books of the Bible, that was chosen as one of the canon of the scriptures. That's the book of Job. And looking at that, Job was trying to understand. He had done all that he knew what to do in order to save God. When his children would gather together and have a party in rotation, starting from the oldest son, he had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and they would come, they would celebrate. The Bible tells us that Job would give a sacrifice unto God, because he said, perhaps in their heart they cursed God. Perhaps in their heart, not anything that anybody has heard, he realized that God hears and knows what's inside the heart. And he offered a sacrifice as a covering for his family. And when he did that, he did so continuously. He was a man who feared God, and a conversation happened behind the scenes, as we know from the book of Job. And then tragedy strike, and he lost all he had. He lost his children. Worst of all, that was the last thing. And after that, when his friends came to comfort him, they came with a good idea, but then they get into the notion that Job had done something that was wrong. He had sinned for him to get into such circumstances. And Job himself, he didn't understand why those things had happened. But he said, how can you condemn me, seeing that I have done what God asked me to do? And they tried to reason that it was because he had done something, he got to find something. Job's children had sinned and all that. They were trying to understand the infinite mind of God with their own finite mind. And they failed miserably. Even Job himself,